I just remember her at one particular moment. She was in a coma towards the end, about 3 days, and she just woke for a moment, and there was a most beatific smile. It was just lovely, like, you know, everything is sort of sorted out.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it without getting a bit tearful, but, you know, it was just one of those things, happiness had happened right at the end of your life, and that's not a bad way to go. Those last 4 weeks of her life when she was in the hospice, I think it's odd to say, but some of the happiest times of her life.
You also have a message for the Chancellor.
Well, we need more hospices rather than fewer.
Welcome to Newsnight. Thank you very much for being with us. You know what it's like, because your late wife Helen spent the last month of her life in a hospice. How much of a comfort was that to her?
Well, it was an enormous comfort, and you have to compare what she'd been through before. She had about 2 or 3 years of chronic pain, and then she was diagnosed with kidney failure, and then so she was having dialysis, and then various other things kicked in, and she had pneumonia and went to the local hospital. And it was very grim, because there were far too many people in the hospital, far too many people needing attention, people rushing about. They looked at the stats on the end of the bed rather than in the eyes of the patient. People would completely ignore patients when they walked in. There was a woman in the ward who was sort of groaning and moaning every hour of the day, 24 hours a day. And Helen was really reduced to, you know, a pitiful state. She'd lost a lot of weight. And she was able to move to the local hospice, and it was a transformation. You know, it was something out of a nightmare. I'm not saying the hospital were doing a bad job, they just couldn't cope. And the great thing about a hospice is you have personal care. Somebody is there, people who have been there for quite a long time, they know how the place works, they give you time, they give you peace, they give you quiet, they give you access. All, you know, our grandchildren, sorry, all were allowed to come in at any time. And those last 4 weeks of her life when she was in the hospice, I think it's odd to say, but some of the happiest times of her life, because she was really released from the pain and suffering.
I'm not sure people realise that most of the funding for hospices, and by the way, hospice care for patients either in the facility or they do a lot of caring for people in their own homes, is completely free. Most of the funding comes from cake sales, sponsored runs, people leaving some money in a will. I mean, which is why you also have a message for the Chancellor.
Well, we need more hospices rather than fewer. I mean, it's ridiculous. And it takes a great weight away from hospitals to have people who are in the sort of last stage of their life looked after somewhere else. And quite apart from that, it's just the extraordinary impact on the family. You know, it's not just the patient who's ill and all that. It's bringing the family around, making sure that at the end of their life, as much as possible, they can spend time with their family. And it's all about dignity. It's about looking after you, talking to you, you know, giving you time and giving you space. And that can't be done in hospitals. And so what you're saying is, well, I'm afraid, you know, for cutting down hospices, people are going to suffer. And I think that's entirely wrong, because the hospice model is a very good model and it works extremely well. So to reduce it seems a total waste of time and money.
And their bills are higher because of higher inflation, because of national insurance rise, and so on and so forth. You and Helen were married for 57 years.
Yeah.
That is wonderful.
Well, it was pretty good, actually.
Was it? Pretty
I
good.
went away a lot. That was the thing.
Well, maybe that's why it lasted
I was travelling the world,
long.
so you know, I think
what
that was
she
the
like?
thing. Helen was very good, very pragmatic, very independent-minded. She was very interested in end-of-life care. She was a bereavement counsellor, so she knew what was going on. But you know, it was very sad to see someone that capable reduced to what she was in the hospital. And I say, once she got into the hospice, there was some dignity returned. And I just remember her at one particular moment. She was in a coma towards the end, about 3 days, and she just woke for a moment, and there was a most beatific smile. it was just lovely. Like, you know, everything is sort of sorted out.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it without getting a bit tearful, but, you know, it was just one of those things. Happiness had happened right at the end of your life, and that's not a bad way to go.
Yeah. And briefly, you said it's important for the family because you have those memories rather than anything traumatic.
Yes, well, this is what Helen used to say as a bereavement counsellor. The problem very often is that people don't solve the family problems before the person dies, and therefore there's terrible guilt. And the hospice movement tries to involve the family as much as possible, so anyone who wants to talk and say something at the last minute, even if they haven't talked to them for years, can do it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sir Michael. Thank you for being with us on Newsnight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I hope the Chancellor was watching you.
Yes.
Thank you.